Tomorrow, on 16 March 2016, the Chancellor will announce one of his most challenging budgets since 2012. The economic recovery for the UK has not been as swift and as assured as he might have expected. Equally, the global economic scenario is less than entirely optimistic. Referendums have this annoying habit of taking the focus away from everything else. The Brexit saga has done exactly that. Investors are adopting a wait-and-watch policy before they commit their investment into the UK because they don't quite know how a post-Brexit UK, if it were to materialize, is going to look like. This means that the Chancellor will have to postpone his plans to deliver all is well, light at the end of the tunnel budget that he would have hoped to present this year. That's definitely not happening tomorrow for sure. Last year, amidst much fanfare, this government announced that they will not increase the income tax rate, the NIC rates, the VAT rates, so he cannot increase taxes. But he does need to raise revenue, so tomorrow's budget is going to be revenues raising. So how does he do that? He'll probably have to go after one of two avenues. One, he'll have to try and introduce a raft of anti-avoidance rules which will seek to raise the tax taking without increasing the tax rates. And secondly, he would probably go for stealth taxation. That's something this government has done very well. Fuel duty is a classic example. You can increase the fuel duty without there being a huge backlash because the oil prices are at an all-time low. Pension pot rate is something that he could have thought of, but after all the backlash, I think this government, we can safely assume and predict that this government is probably going to back off from doing any major reforms on the pension pot and taxation of pensions. All is not doom and gloom, because I think what is likely is that this government tomorrow and the Chancellor will carry on his positive theme of the UK being an extremely attractive corporate tax jurisdiction. That has been one of the great successes of this particular Chancellor. He will be forced, though, to try and balance that with a level of anti-avoidance rules or curtailing of interest deductions, because those are the things that are coming out of the BEPS and the EU study recently. Now, one thing he would have liked to do, because that kind of fits in bang in with his political philosophy, which is reducing his income tax rate from 45% to 40%. He would have loved to do that, but I don't see that happening tomorrow. What I do predict, though, is in the short to mid-term, the 45% income tax rate is likely to come down, and the capital gains tax rate is expected to go up, and aligning beautifully so that the whole income capital distinction and the tax planning industry that revolves around it can be completely done away with. One thing I expect to happen tomorrow is that in keeping with his political position, the Chancellor is expected to subtly advance the case for the UK remaining within the EU. He is also, I think, expected to point out the consequences of UK's exit from the EU, what he calls a messy divorce, and the consequences thereof. One way or the other, I expect him to say or announce that there would be another budget later on this year on an emergency basis if Brexit were to materialize.